So here is an example of what occurred in the courthouse when the bailiff grabbed my controller, unbeknownst to me, and hit me in reverse. Now I'm going to do it slowly so you can see what occurs with the wheels when such a thing happens. So as you can see, my wheel came and struck the back of my leg. Now this occurred instantaneously when the bailiff just grabbed my controller and just shoved me backwards a couple feet. Now here is the example of how it hit my leg, and then now you will see what was going on underneath the bandages when I got struck, and this is why I cried out at the video. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of what occurred when the bailiff grabbed my controller and where I think he intentionally struck me in the face. I was up at the courthouse and the table was right in front of me here. The bailiff reached across my body with his right arm, grabbed my controller, and shoved the controller back, causing my chair to go back suddenly about 1.5 feet, where the wheels spun around and hit my wound. And that's when I outburst at first because of the pain it caused me on my wound. And then I told the judge what was occurring, and then I noticed the bailiff still had his hand on my controller. And I told him to get his hands off my controller. And I pushed his hands off my controller. The next thing I feel is an elbow right into my face. And then that's when I swore and said, "What the F?" because of this occurring. And I think with the positioning of the bailiff, he had to do it intentionally because he was in front of me and not next to me where it could have been an accident. So there's my example of that. Thank you.
All right. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this out. And there were, from that email and kind of our talks a little bit, you talked about there were 2 deputies over at court.
Correct.
And you remember their names? I think the names in the email were Sunday and Nelson. Does that sound correct at all?
Possibly. My dad did write them down, and I totally forgot to get that from him.
I think on the email went that you had spoke to Sergeant Norberg.
Yes.
I think those are the 2 names that you gave.
Okay.
Was Sunday and Nelson.
I think we had I think I gave him the badge numbers.
Okay. You gave that to your dad, or?
I think they gave them to me. Actually, Adam, if you could grab my stack of paper here. And you want to go through there and see if there is a piece of paper in there. I might have it. Everything else in my man satchel.
All I'm doing right now is just kind of filling out this paperwork, and when I get to the allegation, we'll just get a real quick synopsis of the allegation, Kevin, and then we'll then I'll do audio taped. I'm not audio taping anything right now. Then I'll turn on the audio recorder, and I'll just do an interview with you on what took place on that incident. Any concerns or anything with that at all?
Not at all.
Okay. Who are witnesses to the incident?
Well, I guess it would be the judge, the court reporter. My attendant was right next to me on my immediate right.
And that was Adam?
No, it wasn't. It was Tyler
Do you know Tyler's last name?
Rice, R-I-C-E, and he's on tour, but he said that he's doing a write-up of what he witnessed.
Okay, does he have a cell phone or anything?
And yes, he does. I guess I can get that to you.
That would be great if you could email it to me or.
Okay.
Okay, Tyler. Okay,
Right.
judge, court reporter, so pretty much everyone that was in the courtroom.
Right. And then there was Laura Helen Shores, my soon-to-be ex-wife, her attorney, Tim McLarnon,
Okay.
and then Lynn Neumeister.
What's that?
Lynn Neumeister, Laura's mother,
Meister.
was to my back and right.
Okay.
And then her father, William Neumeister,
And these are all Laura's parents?
Laura's parents,
Okay.
and her stepmother, Diane Neumeister. And then behind me was my father,
Okay, what's his name?
Richard Shores,
Okay.
and then my mother, Charlotte Lee, or Char. She prefers Char.
Okay. Sure. Okay, you have phone numbers for them at all?
Yeah, I can supply those.
Okay, that'd be great. All right, and then I'll get all the addresses and all that from them at that time. I'm gonna write your name here, Kevin. Richard. Shores. And what's your address, Kevin?
902
Okay.
16th Street South, Moorhead.
And your phone number was 701-412?
412-8585.
Yep.
And then my home number is 218-287-0340.
Okay. And it's the 20th. And we'll call it 140. Okay. All right, so let's just, I'm gonna start this recording here. All right, today's date's 1/20/2012. Persons present are Lieutenant Chad Hagan, Kevin Shores, and Attendant Adam Troy. We are at the Clay County Sheriff's Office conference room in regards to an internal complaint. All right, Kevin, all I'm going to do right here, let's just do a, before we do an interview, can you give me a short synopsis of the allegation, just so I can put on this form, and then we'll go into more of a complete interview here.
During court proceedings, I was asked to be removed from the court. An officer came up to my left side, reached.
Okay, just stop right there. I'm writing as fast as I can.
Sorry.
During court proceedings, you were asked to be removed?
Correct.
Okay. An officer came up on your left side?
Correct.
Okay, sorry, go ahead with one sentence at a time.
Reached across from my left to right.
Okay.
Grabbed my controller.
Okay.
I stated I would do it, and I grabbed my controller, and then I would say probably shortly or immediately when our hands touched, he came back with his elbow striking me on my left cheek. And I believe it was intentional.
Okay, struck.
I call it a cheap shot.
Left cheek with elbow. Okay, I'm just gonna read this back to you real quick. Again, this is just the, the brief version. During court proceeding, was asked to be removed. Officer came up on left side, reached across left to right, grabbed controller. You stated, "I would do it." You then grabbed the controller. Officer then struck you in the left cheek with elbow, and you believe the act was intentional.
Oh, yes.
Does that sound like a good synopsis right there?
Right.
Okay, all right. Then what I am going to have you do is, are you able with Adam's assistance to just write a signature or some sort of mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a clipboard or?
Right here on the table. Well, you know what? I can probably.
Oh, I can.
We can lift. We can. I only have a pad.
That'll work.
Okay.
And,
Right here. Anywhere. Sorry.
move it to this finger, Adam.
Which finger?
Right there. Yep. Right where that finger is.
Middle finger.
Right here.
Yep. Right. That's perfect. Yes. Yes, sir. I'm going to ask you to do it, since there's two officers, I'm going to ask you to do it one more time. This is a whole separate form, but same one that I'll fill out to match. Yep, right there.
Pouch makes it a little.
Yep, mark that works. All right. We're just gonna, let's go into a little bit more of a interview then, Kevin. I've got your full name, date of birth. While we were talking about the brief synopsis, you stated that you were in court. Do you remember what day that was?
The 31st.
Of May.
Yes, correct.
Okay, of May. May 31st, do you remember what time your proceeding was?
I want to say one. Actually, I can tell you exactly what time it was.
1:49. 1:49. Wednesday. Slide to unlock. Playing. Heading. Playing. Heading. 1:49 p.m. Status bar item. Playing. 2:48.8. 18%. Adjust. 2:48.8. 18%. Adjust. 2:48.8.
Did you see the title on that? It says that.
There's nothing,
Screen curtain on.
nothing up yet.
Screen curtain off.
No title.
Oh. I would say between 1:30 and 2:30.
Okay.
After this is done playing, it'll give the specifics actually.
What was the court proceeding?
It was a matter of FA 14-11-9.
And that's the actual docket number?
Yes.
Okay, what is that for?
Just the matters between Laura Shores and Kevin Shores.
Okay, so it was a court proceeding with you and your wife?
Right.
Okay. Do you remember the name of the judge?
Stephen Cahill.
Okay, so it's Judge Cahill. And it took place in Judge Cahill's chambers?
Correct.
Or not chambers, courtroom?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so how long into the proceeding, or, first of all, who asked you to leave the courtroom?
The judge did.
What was his reasoning for,
Well, I was informed that the hearing was to be a default hearing, a default judgment hearing, and I was making objections of it, and then I was objecting to the proceedings and to the judge's lack of empathy or questioning his methods according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, and allowing me a fair and rightful trial by representing myself. And it became argumentative, and then while I was making my statement, apparently he made a motion or something, because I didn't hear him at all. And then at that time, well, that's kind of how it went into it. Then the officer came up to me.
okay. So you didn't hear the judge tell you to leave the courtroom?
Not at all.
Okay. So you didn't hear him tell you to leave the courtroom, and then what happened?
And then officer of the court came up on my left side, and it was just like this. I was up to a table.
Okay.
I didn't have my foot things on, so I was sitting up and leaning towards the table. And then he apparently my chair was on, and he reached across and grabbed my chair and started to back me up. And then, so like he was right up to me, and at first his arm came right across me.
Okay.
And then he grabbed my remote, and then he backed me up. So then he was right at the side of me.
Okay.
So he was no longer kind of at my back, but he backed me up about between 6 inches and a foot. And so then he was at my side, reaching across this way,
Okay.
right in front of me, kind of parallel with my body.
Gotcha. So it started, he was more over your
He was,
shoulder region,
right.
and then after 6 to a foot, he was more directly perpendicular
Right.
to your side.
And that's why I don't, if he was pulling his arm back and out of the way, I would have seen it as an accident. But the fact that he was in front of me, and the only way that his elbow could have came to my face is by him moving it to my face.
Okay. So he was backing you up 6 inches to a foot, okay, and then
If that, I'm blind, so I
right,
cannot.
I got you. But you're well with your senses that you
Right,
know
that
you
I
would
knew
move
I
a
was
little
moving
bit.
back. And so at that point, I reached up, and I hit the power of my chair, and I said, I can't remember exactly what I said, but then all of a sudden, it's in the recording about what I said, and then all of a sudden, pop, I'm struck in the face, and then I immediately, which is on the tape, I yelled out with an expletive because I was just amazed that, like, really? Are you kidding me?
So when you backed up, you reached up and did what with the power?
And I shut the power off.
Okay, and where's the power?
It's just the switch right here.
Oh, right next to the joystick.
Right. And then his hand was on my joystick.
At the time that it turned off.
Right. And I don't know if I have no idea what he's thinking, or maybe he was offended or mad that I shut off the power, but something triggered him to bring his elbow into my face.
Okay. So then he pulled his arm away, and that's when you felt it.
No, he didn't pull his arm away. It came at my face.
Oh, that's, I meant pulling it away from your joystick. He was,
Well, I thought our hands were still in contact.
okay.
Well, actually, because I
Do you
was
think it
coming.
was the other elbow than the one that was,
No, it was, I believe it, because I think Tyler told me that it was his right hand, that he was reaching across me with his right hand.
okay.
And then, because when I shut the power off, then I lifted up my hand for my joystick, and his hand was above my hand.
Okay.
And then I said something like, I'll do it, or let my chair, or leave my chair alone, or something like that. It's in the recording.
Okay, so he said, you said leave my chair alone. So with his right hand as being the one that was reaching across, do you think it was his right elbow then that came and struck you in?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I believe.
Okay. All right. And just a second here, right elbow.
Because I was,
And it was your left cheek.
right,
correct?
because I was sitting up straight, talking to the judge, and then he did that, and I like instinctively turned to my side, to my joystick.
Okay. So your face actually went towards your joystick.
Well, yeah, if I was facing straight ahead, he would have nailed me right in the nose.
Gotcha. Okay. So whereabout, can you show me whereabout it struck you on?
He nailed me like right up here at the,
Okay, straight across from the nostril, in between the nostril and the
right
ear.
here,
Okay.
kind
Right
of
on the
like
cheekbone.
right on the
Top of the
prominent cheekbone, yep.
Okay.
Because I remember it even like dislodged my glasses up.
So just below your glasses. Okay. And did the officer say anything to you or anything like that?
Not at all.
Okay. How long did, between the time that the judge asked you to leave?
Well, I didn't hear him ask
Okay,
me to
all
leave.
right, all right. Let's see, after the elbow struck you, did anything happen after that?
Well, after that, he kept grabbing at my chair, and then he actually physically started pulling at my chair, and then they were like rocking my chair, and then at that point I made a comment about I have a wound on the back of my calf
Okay.
that is very susceptible to rupturing an artery if it gets blanked, and I'm like, Your Honor, can you show them the picture of my wound?
Okay. And that's on which thigh, or calf?
On my left calf. Actually, that might have, well, we'd have to listen to the tape. That might have happened first, where they grabbed my chair and they were rocking my chair. Oh, it's on the,
Okay.
it's on the
All right,
cassette.
so
I
then,
can't remember.
so they were trying to move it, and then at what point, did you leave the courtroom? Did they have to, manually move the,
Well, no,
the chair?
my attendant and I started moving out, but and then there was at one point where they even like started physically grabbing my body to like pull me out of the chair.
Okay. Do you think
By
it was
that
just
time,
one
there was-
officer, or was it two?
No, by that time it was two officers.
Okay. Okay.
And I think they were at both sides. And then, of course, I got really upset after I got struck in the face, and then I just started calling them Gestapos.
Okay.
And then I requested the judge, and then the judge even told them to let me be, and you can hear it on the tape. They're like, let him go, he'll do it. And then I kept saying, I'm like, let go of me, and I'm leaving. You know, I'll do it. Just let go. And then the guy was just like, leave.
Okay.
I'm like, I'll do it, let go of me. And he's like, go. And I'm like, I want your name and your badge number.
And did
actually-
he supply it to you?
He said that he would when I got outside, but he never did.
Okay.
As soon as I got outside of the court, he went back in and didn't come back out again.
And in the recording, will I be able to hear him
Yes.
say, okay, all right, and the one that said, just go is the one, do you think that was on the joystick?
That I couldn't tell you.
Okay, let's play the recording if you won't mind.
Slide to unlock. Play button.
This is just at the point of when I started objecting to.
Yep, that's fine. That is.
Pause.
Oops, turned off on you.
Play button. Pause.
Can it go loud? Can it go louder?
That's what I was trying to do.
Go ahead, take your time.
Screen dimmed.
I totally
Screen
agree,
locked.
Your Honor, that at this time, I'm asking for a motion that you remove yourself from this court for a conflict of interest. You are ordering me to file an answer payable by a fee of $400 that goes into the same fund that pays your salary, sir. That's a conflict of interest. They're telling me to pay the court money to pay yourself. Also, from the beginning of this, you have not been concisive to the American Disability Act. Because I have a disability from the beginning, you have not, from the beginning, honored my disability according to Minnesota statutes of law. You have, no, do not touch my chair.
To the contrary, sir, I have bent over backwards.
You have not, sir. The very first day you were here, sir, you said I could not have my recording devices.
Did I not halfway through that?
After, ow, fuck! Ow!
Right then is when he.
Your Honor, please show the judge the witness, show the judge my leg wound, and notify the court. Sir, judge, are you fucking kidding me? I'll do it on my own, let go of me. God, are you kidding? You can stop him?
Let him try to do it on his
I'll do it myself.
Let him do it on his
You can stop, what's his name? I want this officer's badge name. Right now. What is your name, sir? Outside, you'll get it. No, you, listen. Your Honor, are you kidding me? You're gonna let these two policemen be Gestapos against this? I am a veteran
In there, I guess I was having a hard time hearing the judge, excuse you from the
Slide.
court, but it was in there.
Pause. Play. Play. Button.
Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I was having a hard time hearing the judge ask you to leave because he was so much, obviously away from you. Okay. All right. And then they never gave you your name or their names, correct?
No.
Okay. And how did you find their names?
I had to go out to the front security entrance desk
Okay.
and talk to the officer out there and requested them for their names.
Okay. And that guy gave it to you?
Yes.
Okay. And you feel this was an intentional act by one of the deputies?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
No
And-
doubt in my mind.
And the reason for that is?
I don't know, built up aggression, hostility for someone in long hair. I couldn't tell you, I don't know what's going on in his mind, but
Okay, but you're feeling that it was intentional versus an unintentional reason
Oh, yes.
is why though?
well, because of his position of his body, there was no way if he was pulling his arm back, because he left his arm there in front of me even after he struck me. So if it was something where he was trying to pull his arm back and out of the way, you would figure he wouldn't be there anymore.
Okay.
Screen dimmed.
I'm just writing here. Okay, so I think what I'll do from here then is, at your earliest convenience,
Screen locked.
you could get me the names and numbers just for your parents and Tyler. Okay, I'll probably get the others from maybe Tim McLarnon or something to that effect. As far as Laura Shores, or if you have Laura and Lynn and Williams,
Yeah.
numbers, that'd be fine if you just want to
If
email
you could
me
give
that.
me an
or-
email, I could
Yep.
easily get
Did
you
my
that
email
contact.
ever come through to you? I did email you last week, and you were going to, with the program you have on your computer, you were going to send me that recording.
Oh, actually, did I give you the?
You gave me, I want to say it is something like K Shores or
Was
K.
it Kevin S.
No, I want to say
or KRS?
KRS at something or other.
702com.net.
Yep. 702com.net. Yep.
Actually, I don't recall getting that one.
Okay, let's just make sure, because I'm gonna do it again, because
Let
I
me-
did it right after we had talked. I'd sent it because you wanted my email, so we could correspond through email
Right.
because it's easier. I have a smartphone too, and sometimes I'm not in the office, but I get all my emails.
Right.
So KRS.
Well, I'm going to give you two of them.
Okay.
It's KRS at 702com.net,
702com.net. Okay.
and then also Kevin S.
Kevin S.
at 702com.net.
And Kevin's Kevin, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, we'll do that, and then once I get all those, I'm gonna start talking to people on their observations, and then I'll talk to the two security deputies that were at the courthouse. I recognize both their names, both their voices. The one with the lower voice that talks the most is Deputy Nelson, and then the one that I think he says in there, you'll get it outside, is Deputy Sunday. Those are the two names that I believe you had given Sergeant Norbert also.
Okay.
So,
Am I allowed to get a copy of this initial report, or?
when we're completed, because this is an internal investigation, I don't know what we can release for public other than findings. Okay, I don't know that offhand. I'll have to talk to the chief deputy in regards to what is, releasable, okay? I don't wanna tell you something that I'm not fully aware of, okay?
Right.
Internal investigations are, you know, they're not something that happen all the time like any other, you know, case. When it's internal, it's usually within the confines of the department or the division, so.
Right.
So,
Is-
I will not leave you hanging on that. I will get that answer for you and talk to you about that.
Is the records of these two officers for public display, where you can learn of their track records, of if they have any blemishes or anything regarding to their records?
Any release from their personnel file would have to go through the personnel director, but they do have personnel files, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And what's public and what's private, again, is, you know, is written or will be put by the law, you know, as far as how the law is written. But yeah, they do have personnel records, and as far as what information on those deputies and what can be released, again, I'm not asked, or sure what you were asking out of that, but as far as their like past, what's the word I'm looking for, disciplinary action and stuff like that, there are always stuff in their personnel files if they were punished or disciplined for anything.
Okay. And then in the event of something like this, what happens, do you know? Or is that dependent, or
Well,
what?
what'll happen here is I will compile the interviews and speak to people, and then when I talk to the officers, I'll have them go through their warnings, you know, to talk to me, and then I refer it to the sheriff, and then the sheriff will make that determination, if anything, of how it goes from there.
Okay, and then from that point, will I be notified?
You'll be notified by the sheriff of the findings.
Of like any kind of disciplinary measures, or if that, or?
Yep, he will explain what, you know, if there's any, if there's disciplinary involved or if there's no disciplinary involved.
Okay,
Okay, and that's Sheriff Bill Berquist.
right.
All right, anything else, Kevin?
No, that should do it.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the audio recording here. It is quarter after 2 on June 20th.